Hey everyone, welcome to another live stream on a Sunday. If you're watching this, you're probably on the East Coast. Majority of people are. And it's about 2 p.m. So here on the West Coast, 11 a.m. Just had some breakfast. Gonna fix my screen here. The not last week, been a couple weeks. Sorry, my voice. A couple weeks ago that I live streamed, and turns out that camera was dying. So that's what led to a significant delay in my voice to video, and I've tried to get it dialed in here as well, which it looks like it's mostly dialed in, but knowing that this is just my studio or my monitor camera that I use for meetings most often, it's not, maybe not be the final form, so I didn't spend too much of a crazy long time figuring that part out. So all right, what are we talking about? Window reflection? That's right. Got me a window. Let's see here. So, been a couple weeks. I hosted a wedding at my house for a family member, and boy howdy, not trying to do that ever again. That was lost a week of my life or more. It was a long time. Family flew in. Nobody directly stayed with us, but everybody was at our house quite often, so turned into one of those days. And so, or one of those weeks, I guess, or 2 weeks. The last people flew out, I think, on Monday. So it was like this last weekend, not this last weekend, but the weekend before. And they flew in. They ended up flying out Monday. Zenzo flew in Monday. Tents and stuff like that were picked up. And then we unloaded a cargo container. I was like, how, I was thinking, they're going to ask, how does this relate to business? Then we unloaded a cargo container on Tuesday, so that's why Zenzo flew up, and we redid the set a little bit here. So you can see that if you're keen on the set, which, you'd have to be around for a while, normally, like, this whole part would have been blocked. Moved the whole situation over a little bit. Worked on lighting a little bit, found out my camera. I got to figure out if the software update did it, is it actually just dying, or what the problem is with that. But we're here, and that's all that matters. So, we got Danny's Aquarium showing up. I don't even know what time it is over there. Let's see here. So yeah, let's talk about fish. I will start with Dan's fish, which I haven't talked about in a little while because I haven't been live streaming, but I was talking with him. He's ordering some more food for his facility. If you don't know, he runs a big facility and sells fish online. We get a little kickback when you buy from him the first time, I think. I can't remember how that deal's structured, but what's been fun is working and developing foods and working with them to see what their fish actually want. Because Dan won't compromise, just like I won't on, well, I want to feed what I want to feed. I want to do what I want to do. And so I've, early on I was asking, like, well, what is it that you need, and what are you looking for? And honestly, he was looking for things that we don't do. He's still looking for like a spirulina flake. We don't do that yet still. And it's not that we never will. It's just we haven't yet because I'm wanting to find the right ratio, what's really accepted by the fish, what's really loved, and not just here's a product with some spirulina and you guys should buy it. So it took a long time to actually get Dan feeding our foods, and now he's feeding quite a bit. And what's funny to me is that, kind of my number one food, kind of what started it all, is now their number one food. And people are probably thinking, oh yeah, the Magic Small Fish feed? Like, nope. Like, I feed a lot of that, don't get me wrong, and we sell a lot, but it's the community pellet. The community pellet is, in my opinion, like no other pellet on the market. Not from an ingredient standpoint, it's the size. The size is so good for all of our community fish, whether it's tetras, guppies, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I can get this to focus on the camera, but can I, without dropping that all over my desk? It only wants to focus on my face. Can I do that? Will it focus? There we go. Well, these are actual pellets. They're not like, it's not granules ground up or anything like that. Like, it's actually pellets. And it took me actually a couple of years. I saw them at a show in China on a shelf with 400 other foods, and I had told Rainey, I'm like, this right here, this is a special magic. And it actually took us like over a year to get them to send us that pellet. They kept sending us bigger and smaller, all the pellets that other manufacturer or other companies and stuff would want and showed interest in. But this was the Goldilocks pellet, like the perfect little pellet. And so we feed so much of it at the store and here, and now that's the majority, because I found that it's, instead of being that, that giant burger where you have to take a bite and open your mouth all the way, it's size where it's easily just one bite. It's like the popcorn chicken for most of our community fish. And that's important. It also floats for a long time, which I love. I need to do a whole nother round of like updating the website, I would say, marketing, because more and more people are starting to chime in the reviews and stuff like, oh, I like using the floating foods, I get less snails. So if you're having a big snail problem, part of that can be from feeding foods that eventually land on the ground. And so like the Magic Small Fish Feed will do that, stays in the mid-water column for a long time, but then coats everything. Absolutely great for growing and breeding snails and shrimp and all that. But if you're on the opposite and you go, I want less of that, not so good for that. And so you'd want floating pellets, because yes, snails can crawl up and eat, and so can shrimp, but it allows more of the percentage of food to get to the fish. And yes, they're going to poop it out, and yes, those snails and shrimp are going to eat on that anyway, but over many months at a time and watching, you'll see that like, hey, seeing a slight reduction in snails. I'm not growing as many, especially if you're doing any manual efforts, like feeding them to a puffer, or a lot of times if you crush a snail, the fish will eat it. It's that protective shell that keeps that from happening. And so yeah, but I mean, I like snails and shrimp and all of that, but mostly I'm finding it interesting that it's taken so long for more and more people to adopt the community pellet, because it's not flashy, it doesn't, it's like, yeah, it's a pellet, it's fine, whatever. And I think over time we've been giving it out at shows and stuff, and as people get in their hands, are going, wait a second, Alec, the fish are really kind of doing well with this. And so it's a slow wave that's like building. We can see it in the trends, and so we're having to start buying some more when we're ordering more and things like that, where the Magic Small Fish Feed, flashy from the get-go. Look at this, it's doing something new. All the small fish that we're having troubles eating now will eat it. There's people raising discus on it. There's, seahorses being raised on it. So it's got a lot of that flash, where the community pellet, I think, is, an undersung hero that people are learning. And don't get me wrong, the other foods are doing fine too, but I find it interesting that my mainstay staple pellet is finally catching on after kind of beating the drum and telling people like, wow, you guys aren't using that. It's weird. Speaking of the aquarium co-op foods, do you have a need to supplement veggies and spirulina for the slow side in the 800 gallon? Nope. So African cichlids, Mabuna in general, the internet would say like, yep, needs lots of spirulina or veggie matter. I just don't. So when I bred them to pay my rent, I didn't. When I ran the store of 300 African cichlid tanks, I didn't. And here at my house, I don't. And that's breeding Tropheus and doing all of the things. And I meet plenty of people that are like, I only feed spirulina. And from my experience in testing, because I test a lot, I found that it was feeding too much food. Not so much what brand, not so much what the content was. And as I've gotten in my career, I've gone from novice, brand new to the hobby, to, fish room guy, want to breed and breed fish for profit, running a fish store, owning a fish store, manufacturer and CEO and YouTube personality. And so I've tried the New Life Spectrums, the Extremes, the Denichis, the Hikari Gold, Hikari Bio Gold, Hikari Excel, Hikari Sinking Excel, specifically with African cichlids, because a big portion of my career was doing that. And basically in blind tests, not blind for me, but for like the fish, of just like, I'll feed this side of the room this and this side of the room that, I couldn't see any difference whether I was feeding a Zoomed Spirulina 20 flake, a seaweed extreme from Hikari, a Excel pellet, or just a normal protein pellet. I honestly couldn't see any difference. And some people would say, like, well, maybe you didn't feed them long enough. Like, sure, I didn't see a difference after like 5 to 8 years on adults. So potentially after that lifespan, you know, it unravels, and that could be. I haven't seen that. We had colonies at the store that were like Tropheus debosii that were going on like 25 years. So obviously not the same fish, but a whole colony. And to be fair, the owner would mix in some spirulina pellets, but we were feeding fairly low quality food, in my opinion. That's not fair, but we were using koi pellets and not expensive koi pellets to feed a majority of the store, and the fish did really well. But again, that kind of unraveled to like, I'm not sure that food quality is that important these days. I think it used to be 30, 40 years ago. Now, so many foods are very good that I don't think that's where the crux is for most people. And so, do I think some fish could benefit from some spirulina? Sure, I do. I don't think it's, we fall into these categories of like, only, I don't know why, but it's like, oh, I only feed this, or I only feed that, or I'm only feeding my betta bug bites or something. And, when I go into the wild, which, I am now doing at least yearly, it seems like, I'm seeing fish just feed on everything. Like, they're opportunistic. If it's there, they will eat it. It could be, I literally saw, and I've got footage of this, of like, a cow died in the water, and there was the bones and the flesh and the skin and tetras, and everything is kind of snacking on it. Like, it's just purely opportunistic. What's in the water they will eat. Now, that's not optimal, right? But also, I don't know that we know what optimal is. And so, depending on the study you read, and one that I'll bring up here is that as a hobby, we go, oh yeah, bugs eat, or fish eat bugs. That's got to be good. And to a certain point, it is. Like, I read one study on the black soldier fly larva, and in this farm, what they were doing is they were making their own foods, right? And they wanted to use soldier fly larva, and I think this is for just a big overall like agricultural co-op. I think it might have been based out of Singapore that I was reading. I can't remember exactly, but the goal was like, fish proteins are expensive, animal proteins are expensive, soldier fly larvae, easy to mass produce and cheap. And so what they were doing is they were basically trying to take foods known to work well to raise fish and start adding the insects, the black soldier fly larvae. And they kept adding and adding and adding. And in these tests, they basically could see on the fry that adding the black soldier fly larva would be beneficial till about 15%. Well, I should step back. I believe it actually wasn't more beneficial, it wasn't detrimental. So up to 15% of the black soldier fly larva was not detrimental, was a cheaper ingredient than fish proteins, and so that was a saving to all the fish farmers. What they saw after that, though, is after 15 to 20-ish%, somewhere in there, depending on the species, they started seeing that they would get worse growth rates and other things, and growth isn't everything, but as a fish farmer, it would be pretty important. And so, as they got to maybe 50%, like, it was worse than fish proteins. And so there's studies like that with spirulina as well, where, different species can only utilize so much, and spirulina has like a bitter taste to fish. Like, they don't want to eat it necessarily. Like, doesn't taste good. It's not an attractant. And so if, I think one of the studies I'm thinking about right now, I think it was about 12% is what they could prove. If it was 12% of the fish food, a fish could utilize a big portion of that, and any more than 12% wasn't really being utilized. So spirulina being an expensive ingredient and not being able to, at least the way they were measuring it, like growth and body size and coloration. Now, it could, there's always hidden things in studies. Like, okay, the three things we're looking for is how big did it get, how good did it look, and how brightly colored was it. And you could have something that totally misses the mark on all of those, but maybe the fish lasts 5 times as long. But in these studies that are only a couple years long, maybe, that will never present itself. So there is something to be said for, just because studies show something, they're not showing in totality of an entire fish's life or anything like that. And you could make a case for, what if the other ingredients in that food were making up for a lack of spirulina, and had you paired it with something else, the fish would have taken 16% spirulina, or they would have taken 19% soldier fly larvae. And so, I would think, after what I just said there, that would make it seem like I'm anti those protein sources, and I'm not. I actually think that in a perfect world, fish would be getting just a big old variety of things in their diet. And so I feed multiple things. I feed frozen, I feed live, I feed lots of our aquarium co-op foods. Truth being told, I've even been testing out Hikari foods again. Even though I've probably spent more money on Hikari foods in my career than anything else, I got away from them. And when I'm testing foods and going, is this food good? I have to test it versus something else. Like if you've only ever had your mom's spaghetti and you love it, how do you know it's a good spaghetti though? You have to test it versus other spaghettis. Let me go taste other spaghettis and go, oh man, my mom does make the best spaghetti. Or turns out this one over here is pretty good. Maybe my mom isn't the best at spaghetti. And so by testing other foods and actually working them back in, because I think a lot of people maybe have not experienced this, but fish get trained to foods, especially in the store or for here in a fish room, so much so that I can take you guys kind of saw that, where the Mabu puffer so trained at eating snails that it didn't want to eat frozen bloodworms. And people go, oh, everyone loves eating frozen bloodworms. You can have the opposite. Everyone wants to eat frozen bloodworms, won't eat dry foods. And so what will happen here is we'll be feeding. A great example of this is we were testing a bottom feeding food because we're working on that. I just saw a new video of the machine that we have to have built to make our food, because it's being made in a different way than other manufacturers. Always something. But in my testing, the fish did not like it, didn't want to eat it, was being received poorly. And I couldn't get my head around it because it was basically the same formula. Well, I was testing different formulas, but the formulas were very close to Magic Small Fish Feed. I'm like, these fish will chew my arm off to get another bite of Magic Small Fish Feed, but if it sinks to the bottom in a wafer form, they will not touch it. And so I was dumb, and I'd order a new sample, a different flavor. Like, there's got to be, what are we doing wrong here? And after like the third time, I sent it to the store and finally was like, try these, Broncho. Store went nuts for them. And that's when I realized I had forgotten that all of my fish are so used to eating either midwater or floating that they don't recognize the sinking food as food. And so then it took me about 3 weeks to condition the fish to eating sinking food again. And then they were going nuts for it. So I think that a lot of people haven't run into that. And so it takes weeks of me feeding a food and working it in to get the fish transitioned to it, even though what sells fish food is how fast to go for it for the first time. So even if you had the best food on the market, if it took a month to transition fish over to it, it would probably go out of business. And so that first 2 feedings probably is what makes or breaks a fish food line. If the fish don't take to it, it's a bad food, getting rid of it. If they take to it really well, it's a great food. And unfortunately, that leads to maybe like, oh, I should serve up candy bars as opposed to serving up total healthy diets. But yeah, so testing it versus others just to see what fish do, how they react. Are they, is water quality the same? Is the pellet holding up the same? And there are big differences. I don't know if you guys have ever had a fish room or been in someone's fish room where they're feeding like Hikari Massivore or New Life Spectrum Thera A. The massivore has this weird, like, real krill smell. Somehow it like aerosolizes if you feed all the tanks. Like you smell it for like a whole day. And not just the person that feeds it. Like I would feed and my wife would be like, oh, it smells fishy in here. The store would have it happen too. I love massivore as a food. A little bit expensive, but I love that pellet from Hikari. But when you feed it in the store, like if we put it in every tank and the fish are going nuts for it, over the next, like up to 48 hours, if you just had your ear open, you would hear the whispers between customers, like, hey, it smells kind of fishy in here. And it would. And so like at home, if I was feeding the fish room, my wife would be like, ooh, there's something dead in here? Like, that's weird. And then the Thera A for New Life Spectrum, it had a lot of garlic in it. And the goal was that it was like kind of anti-parasitic and all of that. And the fish loved it because garlic was an attractant. So that worked out well. But it would smell like you're in an Italian restaurant with garlic bread cooking all the time. And on one hand, cool. On the other hand, as a business or a fish room, not as cool. Or, at one point I had my fish room and it was like connected. It was room my house. And it's like that door would open like, whew, that's a lot of garlic smell in there. And so by testing foods and just seeing, the fish go nuts for it, but do you want your whole house or fish room to smell like garlic or fish or something like that? The answer is usually not. And so we're trying to, I'm always trying to find what's the right pros with the least amount of cons while being affordable. And it's always a hard thing to do. So, all right. How dare you? My spaghetti is perfect. That's right. Let's see here. Tyler Woodhouse has arrived. I love how a fish store, or people complain a fish store smells fishy. Well, what's interesting is, in my opinion, a properly done fish store shouldn't have a smell. What usually when you're smelling a fish smell at a pet store or a fish store, it's actually humidity and things being damp, the walls, that kind of stuff. And so with the proper amount of dehumidifiers and air exchange and things like that, the other thing that is the biggest culprit, and I answer this in comments a lot and on the forum, people will go, I can't find, my tank smells horrible, like real bad. Like, what is this? And almost, 9 times out of 10, there's wet food on the rim of the tank. So you open your top, maybe you open it up, you put some food in, and a little bit gets on that rim. Well, once you close that perfect, humid, hot, like dampness makes it rot and smell so foul that the answer is usually just like grab a paper towel and get it wet and like wipe it down and like, wow, next day, smell's gone. But like one pellet of food on the rim of your tank underneath a lid or it gets wet can stink up a room so bad, or a whole store so bad, that until people learn that, you can smell it. You walk in like, oof, there's some rotting fish food somewhere. And usually you just got to look at the tank rims and you'll find some and you can fix it pretty easily. But so yeah, if you have a real stinky aquarium at home and you're like, I change the water, I do my maintenance, I do my thing, I don't know what's wrong, take a look at the rim and see if there's any fish food that's gotten up on there. And sometimes, like with the 800 gallon, the 230 gallon, with goldfish and the African cichlids, we put the food in and they attack it so hard they splash it up onto the top of the lid, or where we have the feeding hole, and that stays wet and it smells terrible. So sometimes it can be that, where it's getting splashed up on the back of a filter or something like that. So yeah, if you got the fish room stink, take a look for it. Do you still have the wild-caught bristlenose that you caught in Peru in 2018? Also, do you bring any whiptail catfish? I don't think there were some that came back. I don't remember exactly which trip is which, but if it was the ones that were gold, those plecos were amazing. And I don't even know if we got one back, because we collected them, and what happened was, We collected all these fish. It was awesome. And then the plane that they were supposed to leave on, so the exporter got onto the plane and everything, it got shut down and canceled because there were drugs on board, or at least they were searching for drugs. So they spent 3 days searching the plane and all the shipments for drugs, and all the fish had to sit there. And there's a long story that goes with this, but Dean was handling the shipment because he was importing and everything, and he was talking to the guy. The guy said, yep, the fish are still alive, even though they've been sitting on the tarmac for 3 days. And when they got to us, technically some fish were alive, but it was not good. There was a lot of fish soup that had just been cooked basically on the tarmac, and it was honestly a real bad experience for everybody involved. Lost lots of money, lost lots of fish lives, and then at the same time, it's how we get fish though, so it's like we found something cool. In theory, we were supposed to get some like replacements or something. If someone went back to collect, they were going to send us some. That never happened. Then kind of that partnership dissolved because it was like a Michael Barber and Ian Fuller thing. And I think Ian Fuller still does a tour or two per year there, which is like a van-based tour, and maybe we could go back and collect it. But yeah, so that trip, and so then like the following trip I didn't collect and didn't import, I don't think. And then yeah, like in Brazil you just can't, which I actually kind of prefer, because you come home and it's not a mad scramble to get ready for the fish. It's just I got to see them, got to observe them, got to learn. Yeah, this plant right here is Pogostemon Stellatus octopus, and this week, next week, in the next coming weeks, I want to redo this tank behind me to get some more guppies in there and get some things out. And I want to add a gravel filter to the left-hand side, which I realize I'm pointing to the left, but it's looking probably to your right or something like that. But yeah, Pogostemon Stellatus octopus. What's interesting is plants that I put on screen like this typically become our #1 seller. So for many years it was this Vallisneria because I had that in the 800 gallon behind me, and then it was Pogostemon Stellatus octopus because I had it in all the totes, and then I've added it back to this tank because it's good for live bearers and just breeding fish. And now it's a frequent question, like, what's that? That's a lot of plant. Like, that's a lot of plant right there. And it's very easy to grow almost under any light, and that's what makes it one of the best ones to recommend, is just add water and some light and some fertilizer will grow for most people. Don't forget to like. That's right, I forgot my whole spiel. My whole spiel is supposed to be like it and share it, because in the first 20 minutes of a live stream, those are the signals that is whether YouTube will push a live stream out to more people. And so we've kind of missed that deadline. So probably the 208 viewers we have right now is probably what we're going to stick with for today, because I forgot that I should have been playing the game a little better. How did that experiment using the UV bulb on your fish tanks work out? I would want to test and see if it would do anything for my mollies. So to be clear, it was a UVB bulb. So UV, ultraviolet light, usually is used to sterilize water, which I do run in like the 800 gallon. But the UVB is meant to replicate the sun for like reptiles and everything. I kept moving it around the fish room, testing on different fish, and from what I could see, it didn't change anything. And I didn't like the look. It made the fish room look messy, and I didn't have good ways to mount them. So I'd consider maybe trying again with like 4-foot round like T8 bulbs. Like that might look better. But initially you get some fish like hovering under it, so like I think they like it. And some people have had luck, using it to breed the rice fish and everything. But in the general community fish that I keep and all the tanks I tested, I didn't see a noticeable change. And so, used more power and just looked a little unsightly, and then I'd have to buy more. And I kind of was like in a mode where I'm going back to basics, because there's only so much time for me to test things, and I just have run out. And so with all the things in testing, I was like, I need to test I need to focus on what I need to be testing and not going like, is this having an effect or is this having an effect? Especially if you're testing like foods and other things. You change a light or something, and now they're like, oh, they love it. Like, okay, is that just a light though? So yeah, I still wish it would do something. I just hadn't seen it, and so I think, yeah, I don't have any running of those anymore. I just took the last one off like a week or two ago, and it was just kind of not really doing anything. Next, I got to do a tank of our most expensive plant. Well, we used to have that. So in the 800 gallon, it used to have Crinum calamitratums, and I had one that was big and it looked amazing. And people would ask what that was. And we'd sell a bunch of them. They were like $17 each, but they take a long time to grow, and they're not the easiest to grow. Like, they're not super hard, but they're not the easiest. And the farms couldn't keep up. And so, we do have that problem pretty often, actually. So much so that even like the retail store is now encountering that problem on their own, which is a bummer. Because now that the retail store is in Washington, our warehouse in Kentucky, the retail store orders its own plants. So it used to be before, well, there's all these stages, but rewind 2.5, 3 years, we would just order for both, go pick them up from the airport, and then retail store would come and get plants from the warehouse, and that would work. Now we're back to warehouse orders its own plants, store orders its own plants, and they don't even order from necessarily always the same farms, because it's different. Different farms have different shipping rates to different places. Different farms use different airlines and ship differently. So like moving closer to Florida was better for Kentucky, but also we have to drive much further to go get them from an airport, because the closest airport, they have to wait like an additional day, and we don't like that. So I think we have to drive to Cincinnati Airport. Is that right? No, I can't. Maybe it is. I don't know. I know it's a few hours. Let's see. Second mid-roll ad. Since there's always a battle, Corey versus Utah, I presume it's the desirable outcome. I don't know. I honestly, I thought it wouldn't. So, if I'm being honest, I think we're losing more and more control over what we can do on YouTube. And to the best of my knowledge, I clicked the button that should have shown no ads during the live stream. Now, that being said, when you watch the replay, there will be some ads. But during it, I clicked the button of like, it should be manual control, which means I serve the ads, and I just never click the button. Is that what this button is? Yeah. There's literally a button here that says insert ad. If I click that, oh no. Well, the ads have been inserted. I don't know. That might have made this terrible, but if you all just got an ad, my apologies. I was hoping it was going to come up with a screen and I could verify that that was the case, but no. So anyway, I think YouTube is hitting the phase of, so many things in life. Starts out free, build a giant user base, which everybody's using YouTube, so that check there. And then now it's wanting to either make the platform bigger and better, build a different product. And one of the easiest ways is to start monetizing it more and more. And so I think they're basically forcing that more and more. Like it's a thing that I think we're all just going to have to deal with. I don't think they're going to go back on that. And I still feel like they do provide a crazy good service for free, which ads make it not free technically, as in you're paying with your attention and things like that. But yeah, I think the unfortunate truth is going to be, if you want an ad-free experience, you're gonna have to get like a YouTube Premium, which I've had for a long time, because I don't like ads at all. And you can weigh YouTube versus Netflix and Hulu and Disney and all of that, and I think that's their goal. And they got YouTube TV and stuff like that too, and I don't think they're necessarily wrong. I would love to say, I hate ads. I don't want to watch ads, but I run a business and I realize everything costs money and they have to figure out how they're going to monetize it somehow. And yeah, so I definitely think I would get rid of, like, I think we have, we're doing the same thing everyone's doing, playing the game. Like, oh man, if you sign up for Hulu or whatever right now, it's 99 cents for 12 months or whatever. And so as some of those lapse, I would, if I had to choose between, I think we have like HBO, Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube. I think the last one to go for me would probably be YouTube because I do watch that the most each day. Man, what is my beard hair doing over here? It's like, yeah. At least we have a skip button. Yeah, I mean, I do think I do if we sit back and you actually think about the business model of YouTube, I think we can all see the writing on the wall for the last. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner. Of like, it's one of the best places to watch entertainment on the internet, and the fact that it's been and still is free. It's totally free technically still. I won't be shocked at when it becomes a point where it's basically a pay to play space, and it will. My hope is this. It's not that I want everything to be free. It's that I want things to be worth it. And so far, I still think that YouTube Premium is worth it. However, I think it's best when you have like a little bit of a family plan going on. And so if you have a few users all in the same household, that makes a lot more sense than just one person. Yeah. Who has time to watch TV these days? Well, Kyle, I don't think as many people do. I think TV as we know it has changed in that I'm not sure most people are watching TV like I'm going to sit down and watch TV after work. I don't think as much as that. I think it's a lot more I'm going to listen or watch something while I work. And so I've thought about that and I've talked about that years ago where things like this live stream, very common that people are listening while they're working or while they're falling to sleep or mowing their lawn or doing tank maintenance. And all of those are passive consumption. And so I think TV was passive consumption as well for many years. But now we have passive consumption that we get to choose. Where on TV, yeah, you could switch the channel, but it's for the most part, you could watch anything. You could say, hey, I want to watch dirt bike videos for the next 3 weeks straight, 24 hours a day, and you wouldn't even run out of content. You'd be like, yep, there's another dirt bike video, and you can pick that for anything you're interested in, which leads to a really weird like online economy where you think you're getting interested in a hobby to you're now a YouTube expert 3 weeks later, and a week later you're either all the way in and building a fish room or you have decided fish weren't for you. And so it's this weird, gotta, from a business standpoint, need to pick these people up on the way up, where like an older strategy may have been like Tropical Fish Hobbyist, the magazine, a much slower hobby. Information was slower. People building aquariums and amassing a fish room and doing things were slower. And now I'm sure it's being studied, and I don't have any studies on it, but I'm sure the average length of a hobby getting in and getting out has changed. Could be longer, could be shorter, I don't know. But I feel like, and maybe I'm just clued into it, I feel like I see burnout more often than before, but I'm not sure that's true because social media has just made it so easy to see, kind of peek into people's lives because they're documenting it and showing it and like, here's a picture of what I've been doing and now I'm out or whatever. Yeah, but it seems like that could be happening. I don't know. I could be projecting too. Don't know. Would have never had fish without your channel? Yeah. What's crazy to me is think about if you've joined the hobby in like the last 5-10 years, think about what the hobby was like before YouTube. It's crazy because I was there, but it's crazy to think about because it's been so long of like, wait, you can't just, imagine looking up a fish. You type in the scientific name and there's like two pictures and that's it. And there's no video. There's no one talking about how I would keep this fish. There's no video on showing it with other fish in a tank. There's just two pictures and they might not even be good. And that was, and you'd have to dig into like forums and, which was just the old school way, but you were looking for pictures there and asking for people's advice. And what's funny is a lot of stuff got dispelled when video came out because you're like, look at it, it's doing the thing, but people said it wouldn't do, or it does. So I think it's fun to think about that of like, man, there's people that have joined the hobby and only known the hobby as YouTube existing. Like, that's crazy. Corey's top 10 fish in a 10-gallon got you into the hobby. Nice. Yeah. What's interesting is I don't think anybody knows what to do in the fish world right now. There's more fish content to consume than there are hobbyists, just because, let's say, channels like mine were at 1,500 videos, and if on average they're 20 minutes, we're looking at, what is that, 500 hours? And I just don't think people are going to watch, and that's just one creator, right? And so being that there's almost everything on there, it's hard to, like, you can't, I shouldn't say can't, but it's hard to come up with like a new idea that would be engaging for people. And so we're watching, just updated. I think it's going to come down to, we have better resources, better cameras, better microphones, more knowledge. So it's updating like a work, basically, like, like a book, like a textbook. Every few years you revise it. I think that's what we're going to see more and more of on YouTube, because there's fewer and fewer new things to explore, I think. I saw, like, being that I do this for work, I see things and I think about it, and I saw a channel, I think it popped up on Facebook or something, but then it's a whole thing that it's, the whole channel concept is weed eater versus X. So I think we've all seen videos of like crazy press watch thing explode or make a, weird thing. Like, I'm going to use this press that can do 10 billion tons and it's going to crush crayons and they're going to come out like they're strings or whatever. And the whole concept of this channel is just weed eater versus thing. So it's like, drop a thing into a weed eater, see what it does. Like, whether it's a water balloon, whether it's a piece of metal, like whatever it is, a piece of glass, a light bulb. There's a version of that show that exists. It's like microwave versus the thing. And so I think we're hitting it, and it's all kind of fascinating because your curiosity goes, oh, I wonder what would happen. I wonder what would happen if you dropped an X into a thing and watch it do the thing, right? So it gives you that dopamine hit. But what's interesting is you see like the idea when, say, that's the press, and then it's like, okay, but so the other thing was, like, I think before the press was, YouTube was slow motion, right? Like, can we get the craziest slow motion and watch things like explode and do things? And then it was the press, and then it was all these little spin-offs. Like, what's the next thing? Like, a new genre opens up. Okay, we could do that. And I think fish hobby is there too, of like, man, there's not a whole lot that I can think of. There's wild content. There's still some room there. As far as setting up tanks go, like, if we're being honest, just watch MD Fish Tanks. Like, every week he'll set up another tank for you, and it's a never-ending content train of like, here's a new tank, setting it up, here's a new tank, setting it up, here's a new tank, setting it up. And if that's what you want to see, he's got that locked down. The format's great, good presenter, makes visually pleasing tanks, perfect, right? And there's lots of small creators. I'm watching lots of small creators as well, and they're all doing things, but I think it's a fatigue of like, yeah, they're doing a thing that I've already seen though. And so I'm not as engaged because I'm running out of new things to watch as ideas and concepts. And so I think there is an arc that I'm still theorizing of I saw in another industry they were talking about it of like you're interested in a topic, you start binging about a topic, and then you start feeling like you're well educated on a topic or the expert on the topic, and then you hit a point where the learning kind of plateaus. There's not as much to learn. And so like in our hobby, maybe that's like I know nothing, so I need to learn about the nitrogen cycle to keep my fish alive. And you start doing that and you're doing that well. And then maybe the next thing is either breeding fish or live plants. You start doing that and you do that well. Then you add the other one. Okay, so I was doing plants, now I want to breed some fish. You add that, now you're doing that well, right? And then you go, okay, I want to do aquascaping. And you're like, okay, you do that for another year. And you're like, okay, now I'm doing that well enough to my standard. Okay, well now I'm going to try saltwater. You do that for a year or two. And like, okay, I've now done that. And eventually there's not more avenues to continue to learn. I think a lot of us really enjoy learning because it's very rewarding to go, I can't do the thing. Now I've learned enough, I can do the thing. Wow, that's great. And we keep chasing I want to learn the new thing. I want to find the new fish food that's better. I want to find the new way to breed the fish. I want to, and that's a fun thing. And then I think there's the end phase where it's you've now done all the things. So you've learned how to set up an aquarium, you've learned how to keep live plants, you've learned how to breed fish, you've learned how to keep saltwater, you've learned how to do brackish a little bit, you've learned how to do a dirted tank, you've learned how to do copepods and live food cultures and all of that. You've made your own fish food, you've made your own fertilizers, you've made your own aquarium, you've built a fish room, you've done all these things. There then comes a point where you've now tried everything, right? And you understand it, and then you go back to, okay, and out of all of that, what is it that I like? And I think even in my own career, I watch that happen from time to time, and I think most people go through that of like, okay, now that I have satisfied the curiosity in all these areas, which area was I having the most fun? I'm now going to actually turn that back into my hobby. Even though it was your hobby for a couple of years, you strayed from it, you tried all the things, you had a bunch of fun. And I think that's kind of like, people's homes and houses and food, dinners. Like, you could make anything tonight for dinner. I think you should make tacos, because I want to make Sunday tacos a thing. But that's how we get the staples of like, yeah, I'm doing tacos once a week, I'm doing spaghetti once a week, we're doing pizza Fridays, we're doing tuna casserole Tuesdays. Even though you could make everything. Every night could be Japanese food, or Thai food, or any mix of it, or Chinese food, or Italian, or American, or fish and chips, or, it could literally be anything. But after trying all the things throughout your life, you keep settling on things. And I think that's what happens in YouTube and the hobby in general is once you've tried all the things, you will settle in, these are my constants. I like these ones. And for me, that's, tends to be pufferfish, live bearers, planted aquariums. I like some goldfish too. I sprinkle that in. And, we did like African cichlids. So you guys wouldn't know this yet. If you watched the last video, you knew it was coming. But like the African cichlids gone to the wholesaler. Like they're not here anymore. And I haven't shown what the tank is because it's not done yet. But, I dabble in things for about 18 months before I'm like, yeah, this is, it's good. I enjoy it, but it's not my thing. Like I don't need to eat this every week. And it was fun to have it for a while, but yeah. I'm at the point of just enjoying your tanks. Yeah, I think that's where, if you're starting on, I want to learn how to set up a tank. I think the end of it is, I'm just enjoying. And I think people think they are just enjoying through it, but there's a different level of enjoying of like, I'm kind of just as happy to let that thing grow forever as I am to trim it and switch up the tank. Because right now, the tank's working well, I enjoy it, there's babies, you can see the fry swimming around, it's doing what it needs to do. But there's also that part of my brain like, but we could do different things in there. Like, we could get more guppies, we could change the look a little bit, we could do this. And so, yeah. But I've met lots of people that way where you meet a person that's had an aquarium in their home and it might have been that same aquarium for 25, 30 years. Like that's that level of you just enjoy it. And which, you know, I'm around 20 years, and I'm starting to, I don't know, you know, I definitely started to enter that phase. I don't know if I'm all the way there, but I'm pretty close to just getting to, I'm just enjoying this. Work makes me challenge myself and test things. So that does throw like a little bit of a monkey wrench into like, just let it be. Because I think there is a lot said for just let your aquarium be. The next best filter won't change your life. The next best fish food won't change your life. There's a lot to be said for just let it be and enjoy it and look at it. And but there's also something great to be said for I did a thing and I really enjoyed it. There's that too, and I understand that enjoyment. What's the difference between the Magic Community Pellet and the Magic Small or the Magic Bite bite size? Magic Bite size, smaller, sinks faster. The Community Pellet, a little bit larger, floats for much longer. There's definitely some work that needs to be done, and we're aware of that, of better showing all the sizes of food and finding the right reference point and maybe the right fish size to go with it. I actually struggle with how to do that. I used to watch so much FishTube, I've basically seen it all now. I mostly just watch odd videos like your wild collecting videos or something like that where it's about something I can't do or see myself. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too, is, you know, okay, so I know how to drill an aquarium. I saw someone that said they hadn't drilled a tank yet. I know how to drill aquariums. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tanks, both acrylic and glass. I know how to do it. So when a creator, even someone I like, a friend, makes a video on here's how to drill a glass aquarium, I don't watch it because I already know how to do it. And I know 5 different ways to do it. And I know the things to watch out for. And so I totally get it when you're like, I already know what I want to keep my 10 gallon. I'm not going to watch Corey's video on good things to put in your 10 gallon. I understand. I'm there myself. What do I think the most challenging part or enjoyable part of my work? I think the most challenging part, there's obviously lots of challenge, but the most challenging is trying to foresee the way in which tens of thousands of people will use a product and the ways they won't understand how it works, even with instructions. A great example is seeing like so our sponge filters, I don't have any on my desk, but the way you put them together, oftentimes I'll walk in and they'll be put together incorrectly in someone's fish room or in a store. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did we, it still works, it's just wrong, even though the instructions will have a picture and show you how to do it. And so, you know, there's a specific customer I always use whenever we're talking about any product we're working on. And I say, we have to remember, we have customers that will take an air pump and put it into the aquarium and then email us and ask us why it's not working. They didn't buy an air stone. They didn't buy airline tubing. They didn't realize that you don't put it underwater, like it has to sit outside the aquarium. Even though when we look at the listing, we're like, we show it used that way. The instructions say don't get wet. There's all of these things. We're designing for, in a perfect world, someone who won't watch a video, won't read the directions, and it needs to be so intuitive that they don't make a mistake, because that leads to a better product. When you can't make a mistake with it, it's a better product. And so that's the most challenging part. And we definitely have had products where it's like, this is awesome, but it's so complicated, I just don't think it's viable. And a good example of that would be like, let's say we launched a crazy version of like Dean's tray system, and it gave you all the parts and all the things and all the doodads. But the reality is, I think it's too complicated for the average person, and it would just end up in someone's closet or garage not being used after they bought it. And so that's, I think, not a good product to actually release. The other part of that is if I have to invest $100,000 in that product and it doesn't work financially, it's real bad for the company. And we've had that. So like CO2 regulators, right? We had some issues with producing them, like the screws. So the screws that were provided with the manifold system, if you crank them on as tight as they'll go, you can snap the screw head. So then we got new screws that could take tighter tolerances, even though the instructions said don't over tighten. People are used to just tighten a screw as tight as it'll go. They don't want CO2 to leak. Like, that makes sense. And then there'd be people that just had, no idea how to use CO2 and all of that, which is expected. Like, you buy a CO2 system and you're going to learn how to use it. But they'd be terrified of killing fish and all of that, and that product didn't work out. We spent more money trying to help people learn how to do CO2 than we did by selling the CO2 system. And so it was a blunder for us. I shouldn't say we, like, I didn't think it was going to work long term. It turns out it didn't work, but I was willing to take the chance of, like, yeah, CO2 is good and a lot of people would like to use it, but and I as hard as we tried, I still think we didn't do it right. Like, no amount of videos and forum posts and FAQs and product page could teach that skill, basically, to the masses. Lots of people got it, lots of people understood it, but it wasn't worth the bad publicity on where it didn't work. So, yeah. So you guys have those intakes for AquaClears. I like how it's black, but what's the benefit of the L shape? So yeah, the L shape, and we're actually working on that. I need to do a little more testing. Shocker. We're working on that for the FX line of cancer filters. We have an intake, but it's not the L shape. So with the L shape, why is it an L? It's an L because it fits more aquariums. So if you just have a vertical up and down, right? And let's say you want to put a 110 gallon, an AquaClear 110 on a 20 long. If it's only an up and down intake, you can't put a sponge. You can't get it around the substrate, or it might touch the ground. If you make it an L, now it comes on the side. It's much easier to take off, and you can get the bag around it, pull it off, and lift it out. Where if it's up and down, you got to get the bag underneath it, and then pull it down and like try to get it out while keeping the bag closed as you lift it out. And what we found, and it's good feedback. So Ben Ochart, if you watch his channel, he said he ran into that problem in his tanks, where he's got a big tank, and it's like it's not the standard size, but it's a little bit lower, and it's like touching the substrate. And he goes, "Oh, I really wish it was in an L shape like these other ones." I go, "Oh, we could probably do that." And the problem is, like, I'm running one behind this mass of plants. My tank's tall enough; it's 2 feet tall. But if you have like an 18-inch tank, it's running pretty low now, especially on the FX6 lines that have longer tubes. And so the L shape basically comes down to ease of use, it fitting more tank sizes, and thinking through that of like, okay, what happens when someone wants to put one of these really big ones on a tiny tank? People are gonna do that because there is X amount of the hobby that bigger is better. And how do we not disappoint those people? And so the L shape is the best way to do that. Sometimes also it's a little bit of designing for 3D printing and stuff, but in this case, that's not the case. It's actually harder to make it that way than it is just to make one like cylinder that would go up. That's actually easier to design and make than it is the L shape. So the L shape makes it more difficult, but is a better product for more people. You did a video of Europa discus a while back in Germany. Have you or anyone? Oh, I had to scroll off the screen. Have you or anyone imported with them? Curious to hear about the experiences shipping to the U.S. I haven't, and I don't know anyone personally. I think what happens when you import fish is it ends up being way more cost than people are ready for. There's paperwork and there's that too, but when you look at it and you go, okay, yeah, I'm ready. I could spend $600 on some discus, and then you go, oh, the shipping is another $600. Like, oof, it's not $1,200, and I think that's I think that's the biggest problem from importing fish. Like, yeah, having the permits or finding a transshipper or doing whatever you're doing, that's another pain point. However, the additional money is always very surprising, and I think that I think there's going to be a business that comes along and figures that out, and basically just says these discus are this price to your door in America from Europe, from Malaysia, from wherever they're coming from, like just the landed price to your door, and that's what people want, and we know that from testing. Like, if I make a bottle of Easy Green, $15 plus $10 shipping, it will sell 25% worse than if I just make it $25 free shipping, because no one really wants to pay. And part of it is you see it, you're reading about it, you're learning about Easy Green, and then you click the add to cart going, yeah, $15, that's totally worth that. And then you get to checkout, ooh, 25. I was okay at 15, but I'm not okay at 25. And at the same time, if you put it at $25 on the page and they click add to cart, when they get to the end, there's no more extra money. They've already committed. They already understand. They've already done that. And so the testing shows, and we've ran this for quite a while, that companies are much better off just making it one price than not. And I've talked to so many fish vendors about this, and I don't think I've been able to convince a single one. And I tell them, I'm like, you're literally better off raising your prices and having shipping be free than you are to try and keep the prices low, and then they see a big shipping bill at the end. And I think it's because they're not running the tests and they're not seeing it. Every other industry pretty much knows it. That's why free shipping exists. It's never free. Like, someone's always paying the shipping, and I got news for you. It's the buyer. And but your conversion rate goes up. People have already committed to it. They can see it. No one wants to add all the products, do all the things, get to the end and be like, oh, with taxes and shipping and this, it's now unaffordable. I wasted my time. No one likes that experience. No one wants, we've all been on a website before where you're like, oh, they got the thing I want. And then you get there and the shipping charge is something you think is egregious. I know I've had like a part for something. It was like a specialized part for like a lawnmower or a machine. I can't remember what it was. And it was like the part was this big. It was like a tiny part. And the shipping was like $37. And I remember just being so angry. And I can't remember if I even found it in another spot, but it definitely made me look, because I was like, I'm not going to spend $37. I keep getting spammed with commercials nonstop through this live stream. Are you on a TV? I know that they will play more ads on a TV. So, interestingly enough, supposedly the way YouTube ads works is the more ads you let play, the more ads they will show you. So on a TV, if you don't skip the ads, there's like, this person has a high tolerance for ads, serve them more. Also, like, let's say you were cooking or something, right? Or you're doing something where you can't stop the ads. Like, let's say you're working on your car, or your hands are all, or you're in your tanks and your hands are all wet, right? And you can't hit the skip button. Well, technically, every time you let that ad play, you're telling the ad algorithm that you'll listen to ads, and so they will keep serving you more and more. They supposedly, the way it works is, and YouTube, this is spelled out, is they will only serve ads to the tolerance of the user. So the more intolerant of ads you become, the less ads they will serve you. And just knowing that things like being on a TV screen, driving, having your hands where they can't stop a thing, all of those will lead to more of that. And so it's unfortunate, but that's the way that system's supposedly working. So if some people are getting a ton and some people are getting none, that could be some of it. I think regional things also matter some, where in the world you are, where in the country you are, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Has Amazon shipping been better for the co-op than the other methods you've used so far? I think, without having current data, I think the answer is yes. However, what's interesting is with more competition, things are changing. So I know that these are going to be very loose numbers because they do change, but I want to say like 4 months ago, maybe 70% of our packages were going through Amazon. Like they're Amazon delivery trucks. Like there wasn't, it's not like we're listing on Amazon or anything like that, but just like the actual trucks, the delivery system. And then like USPS noticed, a quarter probably ended and they go, hey, our delivery rates or our whatevers are down. So I think we saw it like a month ago. We saw that we were now at like 50% Amazon and like 20% UPS and like 30% USPS. And that's because USPS came in and lowered our rates because, warehouse management software and stuff like that that we run and other big companies run. What happens when you place an order? You'll basically say, hey, I want free shipping or the cheapest shipping. And we go, great, we can do that. And then when we package your package at that time, it will then ask each carrier how much to deliver this package with these parameters. We want it delivered in this amount of days or less. And it'll come back the rates, and our thing will choose the cheapest. Now, if you say, hey, I only want UPS 2-day overnight, it will only choose that option. That's why you guys have to pay more for that. So when UPS or something like the USPS comes in and they make it lower, they'll start, oh, they came in lower, we'll choose and we'll ship that one. Now, there's a bunch of things that go into that. Like, it's not just that simple. There's like, okay, shipping plants to the West Coast, we only like to use certain ones. Shipping lithium ion batteries, they could only ship some ways. And so it might be like, oh, it's way cheaper to use UPS to get it to them, but they won't take the lithium ion battery. And so it can't. And so that's where some products, I think, are we at that point? I can't remember where we're at right now, but it might be that lithium ion products we just don't even ship to Alaska and Hawaii anymore. So many of the companies keep restricting that so much that it might be we literally don't even ship it there. Or maybe it's just the heavy products like salt. Maybe we do ship battery products to Alaska and Canada, but like the salt and a couple other things we don't because it's just sheerly so heavy that the pricing is astronomical. So yeah, and it's all, as we always talk about shipping, everyone's going to go, I like this one, I like this one, I like this one. It all depends who your carrier is, proximity to their thing, what the route is. And so, like, USPS might be the greatest thing alive in your state and the worst thing alive in the state next door to you. And FedEx might be killing it on your street, but the next street over, terrible. And when we have lots of data and we look at aggregate of, 15,000 packages a month, and in general we try to get it better every month, and we make selections and choices and tweak algorithms and do all of those things as much as we can, and we hope that year over year over year over year we just get slightly better delivery rates, slightly faster delivery rates, slightly less plant problems, slightly less, all of those things. Let's see. I'm currently auditing Blue Yonder warehouse management system. Hope that's not what you all use. Nope, we don't. But to be fair, every warehouse management system we've ever interviewed and demoed and tried out, they all have their own host of problems. So we're always on the lookout, but it's such a big, it's like a year-long transition, and you can't even see all the problems you're going to have till you're in the midst of a transition. And then there's the after we've transitioned, what do you mean it can't do this thing? Or you're updating this and you're no longer doing that thing. So it's on our to-do list to reevaluate again. We reevaluate every 2 or 3 years and just see, has anyone figured this whole thing out yet? And so far, no. Let's see here. when you drop your phone and the TikTok ad just loops. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the whole ad thing. I I I told my wife this years ago and I still believe it, that I don't have time for ads in my life. And so I need to pay to not have the ads. And if I don't have the money to pay for the ad-free experience, in my mind, I'm like, I don't have time to be doing the thing that would be the ad-free experience. Does that make sense? So like, if I wanted to watch YouTube for 2 hours a night and I can't afford for the YouTube premium to make that experience more enjoyable, I should go do something else. Like maybe it's make money, maybe it's mow my lawn, maybe it's do something else. Um, and so like there's services I just won't do because I'm like, I don't think it's worth the money. Like I'm not willing to pay this amount of money, but I'm not watching with ads either. Like I'll choose to do something else in my life because I don't think the value is there for the service and I don't want to watch the ads. And so things, yeah. I think YouTube or Facebook is basically that. Like I don't use Facebook except for posting the stuff I need to for work because it's all ad-based stuff and I don't think there's a way to pay for no ads. Maybe they've released it, but I had the Facebook verified for a while for work and it still was not good for me. So Livingston Custom Fabrication. Hey buddy. Look what's right there. The Murphy made an appearance again. Does Amazon pick up your shipments? Just I've never thought of them as a shipper. Yeah, they only became a shipper like in the last, I think, 18 months or so. Yeah, they send a semi truck to our warehouse to pick up. Now, what's different about Amazon shipping is that they basically use, I guess, an Uber system. So what does that mean? That means that the driver that will bring a semi truck to our warehouse is from like the gig economy. And there's a whole, I can't remember what the app is called, but so let's say you need to Uber somewhere, right? That exists for semi trucks. And what Amazon does every day is just has an ongoing booked pickup from our facility with a semi truck that will deliver that to Amazon's sorting centers and stuff. And so it's not like Amazon themselves don't have, well, I'm sure they do, but they don't have a service or anything where they own the semi-truck, they pick it up, and they bring it to their own thing. Instead, they're using kind of that Uber semi-truck thing. And every once in a while, that does burn us, where the person cancels, gets a flat tire, they can't find somebody. Like once every 6 months, something like that happens. Or in Kentucky, like too many tornado warnings or bad weather or whatever that is. And so we've had 1 or 2 delays so far. But yeah, they do pick up just like UPS. So each day, I think we have UPS, USPS, and Amazon picking up from our warehouse. And which is super nice now that we have a dock. It's way better. So we can just roll them right onto those trucks as opposed to having to hand load and unload them all the time. Now that you guys have done the warehouse move, have you gone back and done a look back and see if the savings penciled out? Curious to see if you got the lift you're hoping for. I know the lift is there, so the simple math is we were able to lower the shipping rates and do all of that. And I know that what we're paying is quite a bit lower in shipping. But no, I myself, and maybe Randy has done it, but I haven't done it. I haven't gone, okay, now let's take these 2 years. And really what we'd have to do is like take these 2 years versus the 2 years previous, make sure the data's clean, compare them. Are they roughly the same amount of shipments? And then basically it's a lot of work. That's what it comes down to, is like, sure, but like the warehouse costs more because it's bigger and we have, more and different staff and all of that. And so when you take aggregate numbers, and let's say we just looked at them and go, hey, 2 years ago it cost $9 million to operate, and this year we'd look at it and it'd be like, and it costs $9 million to operate. But we know shipping is down. However, over those 2 and 3 years, like, okay, well, employees are getting raises, insurance premiums went up, rent goes up 3% a year. Like, there's all these things that are going up, which Tyler knows this, but just explaining in general. And so the two big numbers, if you just look at them, you're like, it didn't save us any money. The reality is it could have been $9 million, or now it cost us $10 million. And so we are saving, we're saving like $1 million by making that move, which costs us millions of dollars to invest to, in theory, will save that money if things don't rise too quickly. Fish Room Fever, how's the new fish room going? I saw you at the Bluegrass Bash and our warehouse tour, and I knew you were working on it. I don't think I've seen a video come through recently, because I knew you were adding on a few more feet to your, I guess it's a shed, but yeah, I don't think you're live streaming stuff yet. So, but thanks for the gifted memberships, and congrats to Legion Aquatics, longtime fan, and how do you say it? Ohana Hone? I don't know how to say that, but you won. Yeah, it's easy to get free shipping from the co-op. To me, that speaks on how good all the things the co-op are. You all do amazing. Best brine shrimp eggs on the market. Well, thank you. Yeah, and you get a free shirt if you spend even more. That's a good point. I use free ad block to block 100% of all ads on PC. It will erase all of the ads from your life. We need a solution for the TV. Yes, you can use different ad blockers to block on a desktop. Phones are harder. TVs are harder. I saw someone mention Pi-hole, which is a way to block ads for like an entire network. I've looked into that briefly a couple of times. It's pretty in depth, so I haven't taken on that level of like, okay, I need to really understand this before, as a tech nerd, if you're in that space, you'll know the first thing is just don't upset the people in your family. So like, I could buy the device or set it up to block all ads, and like, yes, I've beat it, I've won. And then like my wife will try to log into our bank and it'll be blocked or something, and then that's the annoying part you can't have happen. And so I know that there's some time I'd have to spend fixing all of that stuff, and so I haven't gone towards the Pi-hole system. And I was just looking, so last week I had a lot of internet outages here, pretty disruptive and annoying. And so I was looking at, I think it was something called Firewalla. Is that what it was? It was like your own firewall, but it also gave me the ability to have backup connections, so I could have like a cell phone connection built in with that. So failover protection, basically, because I was having to hotspot from my phone to do anything for work. And that went on for like 2 days, so pretty disruptive. And yeah, so, but the reason I'm bringing that up is part of that was like, hey, you could incorporate it with Pi-hole and start blocking some of the ads and stuff. And so it's a realm of like, okay, great example. I'm in that learning to set up, I want to learn how to set up a fish tank phase. And so I'm way over here and not at the like, oh yeah, I'm just enjoying blocking all the ads phase at the DNS level at my router and all of that. So I'm sure at some point I'm going to take that up and start binging all the YouTube videos, all the information, learning, and then I've done it, and I'll just enjoy all at a point where it's just good enough. I just enjoy it. And so I basically haven't freed up the room to go, oh yeah, this week I'm really going to dig into pulling this thing off. I play Flight Simulator in my fish room. That sounds awesome. I've got to put an order in with you here soon. Well, if you place your order today, it basically ships out tomorrow morning. So unless everybody on the planet places an order, in which case it'll go out Tuesday. But Mondays we staff heavy and we get a lot of packages out from all the weekend. And it's kind of the optimal time to purchase. Monday morning gives you the most chances of early delivery and the least amount of delays and all of that throughout the shipping week throughout the country. Although there's lots of wildfires and storms and flooding and all that kind of stuff, which there's always something. If it's not that, it's it's thunderstorms and heat waves and snowstorms and yeah. So there's always stuff. It's actually pretty complicated to do shipping throughout the states. There's always something going on. Always a disruption in some way. I know some streaming systems have ads still that use systems that are almost impossible to work around with the Pi-hole. Yeah, and that would irk me after like buying devices and doing the things, and then still like, but then I still have to avoid these. Almost time for that 8-year coin. That's right. I don't know if anybody's hit it yet, but we do have it sitting at the warehouse ready to ship, and I believe I've even set it up correctly this time. I hope. Fisherman Fever says needs a day of plumbing, a day of electrical, and a day of finish work. It's a side job for my builder. I know how that goes. I've got a builder guy that's been working like on the pond, got the dock done, and he's out of town like the next week. Maybe he's here tomorrow, but then gone for a week, and then has other jobs to do. Because none of my stuff right now is pressing. So I'm always like, hey, fit me in around your other clients. Like I want the cheap time, like I'm not in a rush. But I bought a gazebo off of Amazon for it was $800 and then $200 shipping. So right now, if you're listening to Deep in the Mulm, it's way too hot to sit on the dock. And I put a chair there, and I sat there for like 10 minutes before I was sweating real bad yesterday. And so I just have to wait for the gazebo so that I can enjoy the pond and the fish. And so we'll see. It's I won't say it's the cheapest gazebo thingy I could find, but it was pretty cheap. And mostly it had to go, my dock's only 8 feet wide, so it was really hard to find something that narrow. I was looking at quite a few like barbecue cover options, which, yeah, I didn't know were a thing until I was trying to figure out how am I going to not get wicked bad sunburns trying to watch my fish. So the things to do on my dock to finish it up, want to get that gazebo built, and then I want to get a little bit of power to the dock. We've got power off the dock, like 6 feet away. I want to get power on the dock so I can plug in the koi fish food feeder and get that automated and get a camera right off the end of the dock. And then that project will be done. Just get to enjoy it. It is confirmed our beaver is actually a muskrat. So some people were correct. If you're watching Deep in the Mulm, we showed that video. And I'm loving that he is eating, or not eating. It could be a she as well, I don't know. But they are chopping down lots of the cattails. So kind of saving me some work, which is great. But could dig enough to collapse my pond. So we're going to see how this goes. I do take the natures here before me. I will try to work with it before working without it. So I'm going to see, does it cause a problem for me to begin with? What are these mythical coins you speak of? That's right. Corey boy in New Zealand. Hey, I'm at least there. Things could get better for your side of the world. I'm coming to Australia in October, so I'm at least in the realm. By the way, if you're going to attend that while I'm on that side of the world, which is like a 4 billion hour flight, by the way, I'm not sure how much further I can fly in one go. This is going to be a long one. I think we're limited to about 400 and some seats. They rented I don't know if it's a hall or a thing. It's going to be like kind of like a TED Talky setup, I guess. Because Chris Lukup went there and they could only seat like 90, and there was lots of people that got turned away. So trying to make sure, and I want to say to pay for that space, tickets are like 20-ish bucks. Where I was going with that is like, there's a chance that I'll bring a decent amount of swag and stuff, depending on my weight limits on the bags, and if it doesn't cost $1 billion to fly over there. And yeah, so I'll try to give some stuff away, but yeah, maybe I'll bring some misprint coins, or at least maybe I'll bring my own wild-caught coin or something. Let's see. I'm about to sell my first fish to a shop, thanks to all your suggestions and videos. Greetings from Germany. Good luck. I hope that works out well for both of you. It's always a weird relationship buying and selling fish to and from a store and hoping things, because, what if people get, what if the store gets the fish sick? What if they stop wanting to buy what you want to buy? What if you lose interest in what you're breeding and you want to breed something else? So it's always cool when a relationship long term and both people can think long term. So even when you have to buy Dean's electric blue Acaras and his, what else he makes? Sometimes some cribs and stuff, some pelvic chromis. It's worth it because he makes all the other cool fish. And he just enjoys breeding them, which I do too. I get it. Australia might have some cool collecting spots. Yeah, I'm turning this trip into the shortest trip I can, which is I think 11 days. So I'm actually speaking at two things. One is the ASOV Club, which you can find it on. We shared it on Facebook. We've shared it once on YouTube so far. I'm talking about it. And then I'm also doing a thing with the Rainbow Fish Convention. I think that's the first weekend, but that's in a much smaller capacity. So yeah, I think it's the second weekend I'm there. I'm speaking on Saturday, where the first weekend I'm doing a thing on Sunday, the first Sunday. So first Sunday and the second Saturday of my trip being there. Yeah, so hopefully enough people will attend and it'll be fun, because I don't think I'm just going to be hopping over to Australia all the time, because it is a long flight, like wicked long. One of the flights, I was trying to save some money for the club, and one of the flights, if I went through Vietnam, was going to be 38 hours. And I was like, that's just I can't handle it. I can't handle 38 hours. Like, the layover's long, the flights are long. Like, I can't. I want to save you that money, but I can't. Do I sell a 30 ppi large sponge filter? I have the course, but it sucks up shrimp and fry. We sell a finer sponge. I'd have to look to see what ppi it is off the top of my head. But I would also question, like, is it actually sucking those up? Like, do you have a crazy amount of water flow going through there? Because shrimp will just go in naturally and use it as a cave system. And then, like, let's say you had discus fry or ram fry. You need a lot of water flow, which I wouldn't want to make the fry swim against to actually get enough lift to suck them through it. But you never know. Each setup is different. I'm so glad to have tried a tub pond this year. It's a whole other set of conditions to observe. Just watching the fish and the temp differences from the bottom to the top of the container is fascinating. Yeah, so you're in that, like, I need to do summer tubbing mode. And after a few summers of that, you'll be like a pro of that. And, yeah. I see. Do I sell the 30 ppi large pre-filter sponge? No. The problem with that is they become clogged too quickly, and they can lead to pump damage. So we don't. Amazon probably does, but I'm going to give you the caveat right now of, like, you might find yourself cleaning that sponge every day at that fine porosity on the intake of a power filter like that. And so that's why we don't sell them like that. Like, our smallest ones are pretty fine, but yeah, you just really got to babysit it. And I think that, yeah, trying to think. How would I approach that problem? I would switch to sponge filters themselves, but assuming I needed to use the hang-on back, or could be canister, I would turn the flow down as much as it can go, so there'd be less suction. And then, okay, so here's what I would do if it was me, because I've done this in the past. I would adapt it. I would use like a PVC T, so that way it's, can go out. And I'd put 2 sponges, and I'd make them obscenely big so that the flow through any one point would be very slow. That would allow me to use the bigger sponge, and the flow would be so slow it shouldn't want to be sucking anything in by diffusing the surface area of the pull of the suction. Yeah. That's what I would do. I really miss my summer tub. I moved, and now where I am, the weather changes too drastically. I don't think fish would do well. Yeah, I'm still testing, but I still think there's a lot for the whole hobby to learn of what tolerance fish have for temperature changing. I know that being in the wild, the more I'm in the wild, the more I know that they can handle way bigger swings than we think, at least in the short term. In the long term, I don't know. But holding a thermometer like at eye level while I'm in the Amazon tributaries, it might read 83. And then every foot I go down, so then if I hold the same thermometer with my toes as far down as I can go, so roughly 5-6 feet, roughly, it will drop a degree. So it could be 82 and 76 in just that 6 feet. And you'll watch fish just swim all around like it's nothing. Like, not a care in the world. I have to imagine that when it's 20, 30 feet down, I can't get down there to really measure it, but I think it keeps just getting colder and colder and colder. And you'll watch the fish go through it like it's nothing. So, again, that's a temporary thing, though, and not like a super long-term thing. So, but I think there's more room to have a good area of study there. In fact, maybe some people could help me because maybe you work on this a little bit. Maybe you're in fisheries or something. The thermometer I have right now is a pool thermometer, so it floats on the top of the water of my pond. And I'm logging data, which is awesome because I'm a data nerd. And right now in my pond, it is 76.3 degrees. And so, I've called it, let's see if I can get that, Big Pond Thermometer. Last updated 30 minutes ago. And at the high yesterday at 4 p.m., that water temp height was 77.18. And the low at 7 a.m. this morning was 73.04. What I'm very curious to know is what it is at the bottom of that pond. Because the pond is, I think, at least 10, 12, 15 feet deep. It's way further than I can touch. And so I need like a floating thing so that it can like relay the signal to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or whatever. And then I want the probe of that thermometer to be way down there though, because I really would love to know, like, that's a few degree swing, right? A 4-degree swing at the surface temp, or I mean at the surface. I want to know, is it just rock steady down below? So I need to. It's on my to-do list to Google around and figure out what's a way in which I can measure like the bottom of a pool or a pond water temp, and then also report it so it's logging and not just like I have to look at it. Because if I just look at it, then it's what I remember, and that's never as accurate as having months of data I could look at and year-long tracking to go, okay, here's the low and here's the high over the entire year of my pond. Is a hang-on back really bad for shrimp? I really like the waterfall on the hang-on back. I wouldn't say it's really bad. I've run plenty of tanks with hang-on backs, but I run a pre-filter sponge. Don't have any right here. I could grab them off the little corner store I've got going, but you want to try to keep them out of it's getting sucked up instantly. So what I would say is, with a hang-on back tank, I try to go, or hang-on back filter, I try to go like a bit underpowered for the tank, if that makes sense. So maybe on an like on a 55 gallon, maybe I'm running like one AquaClear 50 or something like that, and I've turned it down pretty slow, and then a sponge filter in the other corner. And like on most of them, when there's shrimp and stuff involved, I turn the little flow gauge down to the slowest flow that filter itself will do. Added some guppies to a tub. I thought I started too early. Hold on. I added guppies to a tub that I thought I started too early with platies. Thought platies died from raccoons, but now later in the season I've got guppies and platies together because some did survive. Yeah, I think there's some adaptation that goes on where some of the fish handle it well, some don't. I mean, we've seen that, but I don't have good guidance on like, yeah, 20% will live through and keep the species going, and then they'll be more cold tolerant. That seems like what it would be, but I don't have actual numbers. been a great stream. Got to do some chores and relax before work. Getting ready now to try and watch until the stream is over, or I have to clock in. Yep. The Sunday live stream kind of gets me ready for the work week. So what's been weird is this time, now that I'm live streaming on Sundays again, I'm trying to turn Sunday into a work day. And I haven't figured out what other day to take off. I'm really trying to fight that balance and maximum work like 5 days. I'm trying, my big goal in work is not so much make more money, do more things. Like that's always a goal, but is really trying to go find balance with life and work. Cause let's see, it's 2016 or 2026. I'm 10 years off. I started building the store in 2012. So at year 14, it's like, okay, I really need to stop just running at full speed and start trying to get balance in for the rest of my life to keep this up. So trying to, and I am getting better, but I have problems with like feeling guilty of not working. So like if I'm mowing my lawn, it's like, oh, I got so much work I should be doing right now. Like this is, but it's totally normal for someone to mow their lawn and have time to mow their lawn. And so I need to embrace and not feel guilty that I could be working or changing this tank or doing the thing when I'm taking care of stuff at home. But I should be mowing the lawn. I need to disconnect. I need to do those things. So still working on that struggle that I have. I'll break down the tub in October. It would freeze solid where I live in New England. Yeah. Some of the temperature probes are pretty long. I'm sure there's a way to weight one to the bottom and still get signal. Yeah, I don't doubt for a second there must be the answer to my problem. I just haven't done any Googling on it yet. And in a perfect tech nerd world, I would open up mine and probably be like, oh, I can use the top module, unsolder these two connection points, install a 20, 30 foot long probe that's a waterproof probe, like silicone it back together and let that flow at the top. Like I've got a guy that I could probably ask to help me with that too. I just, I haven't done that yet. What time is it where I am? Where I am, it is 12:39 p.m. So it's almost 9 there for you. Is that like Germany, Europe somewhere? That's my guess. If it's 9 p.m. there. Plant weights for the win. Yeah. So I'm trying to develop another thing. I think the supply has arrived today. I basically want to build giant air curtains for the ponds. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take drip emitter hosing, not drip emitter, but just like garden soaker hose. That's what I'm trying to, like a garden soaker hose. You know, the ones that just like let water out of the side of the hose and waters your garden. Well, if you hook that up to air, it releases bubbles. So I bought weighted airline pond tubing, and I'm going to zip tie soaker hose to that every, let's say, 6 feet. I don't know. And then I'm going to hook up the air, and I'm going to try and, either make a cool pattern or go around the outside, just see what I can do with it. And then I'm going to test the air pump I have and see if I need a bigger air pump or a different air pump or multiple air pumps. So working on some of that me time, improve my little pond scenario down there. If you take the time, you'll be healthier and happier and thus able to work for more years. Perhaps you can remind yourself of that. You're not wrong. You are 100% right. And I do try to go, because I witness it whenever I go on vacation. If we go to Hawaii or something, after about 3 or 4 days, I just start having these like epiphanies. Like, of course that's what you do with this. Of course that's the answer to that. And I think it's because I stopped setting alarms, and I'm just hanging out with my wife, and we'll go to the farmer's market. We'll do all these things, and my brain is actually resting. And all of a sudden it kicks into overdrive with all these good ideas. And then unfortunately, the second half of the vacation, I usually start working a ton because I'm so excited about these ideas that I have to start working on them because it brings me a lot of joy. And so, yeah. Uh-oh. Corey's Fish Fam Secret Santa is getting set up next year. Are you telling me that it's getting set up and I need to sign up now? Or you're telling me I should be setting one up? Because I missed that last year and I was disappointed. I do like participating in the Fish Fam Secret Santa thing because I think it's a fun concept. So anyone that's watching for that, send us like a either in a live stream or send customer service and remind us like, hey, you could actually sign up because last year I missed it and I was super bummed because I like to shower whoever I get as a Secret Santa with a bunch of cool like one of promos and test items and things that money can't buy because I think it's cool. But I hope the person that receives it thinks it's cool. The real reason, by the way, the real reason I'm doing live streams again is I haven't live streamed consistently enough over the last couple years, and at events and other things, I don't get homemade baked cookies anymore, and I love homemade cookies. So I need to remind myself to talk about homemade cookies more often, especially peanut butter cookies and things like that, because I love. And the reason I thought about that is the person that got me for Secret Santa 2 years ago when I participated sent us cookies, and they were so good. Oh man, they were good. So I love homemade cookies. Boy, do I love cookies. I'll give you reminders so I won't get left out this year, Corey. Good. I love to participate in things because I get to be anonymous, at least until the end. And yeah, so what is this Secret Santa and how do we sign up? Yeah, I can't remember. It was oh, I can see him. I can't remember his channel name. Oh, that makes me look so bad when I can't remember people's names. Anyway, Candy or someone will post something to watch out for, and you can participate. It's a fun time though. You basically, if you never participated in Secret Santa, you put your name in, and then you get a name, and I think you fill out in the form. You fill out like kind of what you're into or what you keep or something like that, because you don't want to be like, I keep salt water, and then someone like gives you freshwater stuff that wouldn't work. But I think I got handmade little plushies or knitted plushies, and then cookies, which was super cool. Because in my thing I said I really love handmade things like that someone takes their time and makes. So I always think it's super cool, and so I think I put that in my thing, and then I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what we gave the person we got. But yeah, I think I just loaded them up with a cool package of stuff because I think there's a limit. I want to say there's a limit to how much money you can spend, and so in my mind, I was like, well, technically, I manufacture things so they're cheaper, so I could really give this person like a lot of stuff, and still be under the cap of money. So, have I seen the fish keeping scene in the UK? There are virtually no mom and pop shops where I live. I haven't. I haven't been to. I haven't been to any. I would say many. I was like, I don't think I've been to any over there. But I think if I did go to the UK and was looking, I want to visit. I think it's Maidenhead Aquatics. They always seem like they've got something I want to see over there. Come back and visit April's Aquarium. I'll bake you all the cookies. I need to send a message to Darren. I'm supposed to come up there probably in the next month to work on some business stuff and with him. So maybe that'll happen. I don't know. We'll probably start scheduling events too. I'm so bad at actually doing events. I'm just always so busy. Corey loves cookies so much he has his own monthly cookie club. Yeah, so the little small get together we do with fish once a month, which I've missed like the last 3. I was so run down I didn't make it last week. But it's basically turned into everyone brings cookies and stuff and we talk about fish. It's the best night of the month for sure. Lots of cookies. And then if you're smart, you get a little Ziploc, you bring a couple of those cookies home. So you got snacks for the next day. Tyler Woodhouse, are you lobbying for some I was calling them Ted Lassos, but some Lasso cookies? I am. I'm always lobbying for Lasso cookies. I'm kind of sad I don't have like an auto. I need like a subscribe and save to Tyler Woodhouse lasso cookies. Which aquarium quat food is similar to extreme nano pellets? Um, I think the closest one is our bite size. Yeah, it's not the like they're not the same size, but it's the closest size. My favorite are chocolate chip oatmeal coconut cookies. I've never had that cookie. I'm analyzing it in my brain, going oatmeal sometimes is amazing. Don't love raisins, but coconut that brings like the macaroon feel. Wait, yeah, macaroon, but yeah, the consistency. I think it all comes down to what are the ratios. Tam Talks Tank says, yeah, we have a few Maidenhead Aquatics shops local, and they've been decent. So is Maidenhead Aquatics like a chain, or is it, because some of the mom and pops will be like, we have 4 stores, they're still mom and pop. So truth be told, I do want to. I need a cookie of the month. I need like an old lady / Tyler Woodhouse / anybody cookie of the month club. I had a person that I played video games with. They were like in my guild, and they went to a charity event where they bought a thing where they got a homemade pie every month for a year, and they would not stop talking about how each month would be a different pie of some flavor and how it was mind-blowingly good because this lady made rad pies. And I can't stop but think about, like, I need that in cookie form. I need, like, to win a charity event or something where it's like someone who's good at baking cookies, which my wife is great, by the way. I don't want to downplay that. But being able to just, I almost like it better than be a random cookie. Because otherwise I'd be like, peanut butter please, and I would get tired of them. But be like, oh man, like Candy makes some cookies that I hadn't had that are really good. Like those, what are they like? They have cherry in them, cherry chocolate chip, and then she'll make cookies that are often like, oh, I haven't had this before. Wow, this is delicious. And so it's expanding my cookie horizon. Oh, my wife says, Corey has had it. It's a version of a monster cookie with everything in it, but he hasn't had it with the raisins. I see. I went to Maidenhead last year when I was over in Wimbledon. Wimbledon? Has my life just been changed? I thought it was Wimbledon, like T-O-N. Is it Wimbledon this whole time? Oh no. I think that's the first time I've ever seen it written, and I have just been saying Wimbledon. It is Wimbledon. Dang it. I've heard that word probably 10 billion times related to tennis, and I always thought it was Wimbledon. Life's upside down for me now. Anyway, the one I went to was attached to a Home Depot type store. It was pretty solid. Okay. There are cookie services like a box thing, and I've bought them for family members and stuff over the years, but in my opinion, nothing replaces homemade. Like homemade, like if you've got someone you know that'll make you a chair from their wood shop, you can't buy a chair as good as that. If someone will make you a homemade meal, you can't buy stuff as good as that. And so while yes, I do want to put at least one speed bump, I could buy all the cookies I could eat for sure. But if I have to involve someone else and they're home making them, it slows down the cookie consumption rate tenfold, which is good for me because I love cookies. I would subscribe to Cookies and Pie and probably insulin subscription. Yeah, it's included. Yeah, why not? Do I have any advice? You want to open your own shop someday? My advice is always the same to start. Go run someone else's store while you're being paid to do it. So go learn as much as you can for years and work your way up to managing a store. That's what I say this because that's what I did. It took me 5 years to, I managed someone else's store. I managed it And I learned so much. And then when I opened my own store, I still had so much to learn because by the time I left that store, I thought, of course I could run a store. I've been doing it. What you don't know until you are your own store is like you don't know tax situations, you don't know accounting situations, you don't know permitting, you don't know all of the things that have been done and were different chapters of that business's life before they work that out. But you take for granted, of course I could run this thing. And so if you have all of those things that you can do already, like, okay, yeah, I've been running this store, when you get to running your own and you run the things you haven't done yet, you don't have to learn all the stuff you should have known plus all this new stuff. You can focus on the new stuff you don't know. And I think that's the best advice. And I'll never forget one time someone asked that question. I told them that, and they said, they said, oh, but I can't afford, they don't pay enough at the fish store I want to go work, that I would work at. And I'll never forget that, because there's a big portion that I think people forget is, well, when you open your own store, you'll make nothing. For the first year, I made $0. The second year, I made $500 a month because I had to pay my half of the rent. My wife, then girlfriend, she was covering most things. And I think it was year 3, I think, or year 2, I can't remember. But my tax return, being self-employed, mind you, if you've ever done self-employment tax, you're going to realize how crazy this is. But my tax return was $14,000. I'd worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life, more hours, with more anxiety, more stress, to make $14,000. Then I think the next year, at some point I want to lay this out, because I have a talk from way back when I laid out the store sales. I want to lay out like a decent trajectory, because now I'm a CEO and I make pretty good money. Let's be honest. Like, I make a lot of products. YouTube pays well. Like, there's a lot of things going on. My life's pretty good. But there was many years where my wife Katie definitely supporting us, investing in the, like, if this whole fish thing works out, this will be good. But at the beginning, hindsight being 2020, at the beginning, things were not good. Like, I want to say in year 3 was, I was going to make, I think I made like $42,000 for working 100 hours a week, working 7 days a week. The store was open 6, but I was there 7 because we were still building different parts of the store and doing little things and having to go pick out fish by hand and all that. And I remember I thought about it like all day. My wife came home from work. I was sitting there on the couch, and I think we had Sassy at that point, because I think Sassy was on the couch with me, and she'd gotten home from work, and I looked over and I'm like, I think I'm going all in on social media, like YouTube in particular. And she said something to the effect of like, do you think that's a good idea? Like, something she was apprehensive about it. And I go, well, I can't work this hard for this kind of money that much longer. Like, it would be dumb. I should go work for somebody else, because I could go make $40,000 working 40 hours a week for somebody else. Like, that's just a better thing. And so luckily, YouTube did kind of pan out, and yeah, that's how we got to here. So I don't know. Oh, being that I had lived that trajectory, that's the trajectory I recommend, because there was so many things that I didn't know that I thought, I've got this in the bag. I've run a store, and I had all the ideas. I'm gonna sell the fish that other people don't sell. My original goal, which is hilarious to me now, my original goal was I wasn't gonna sell any dry goods. I was gonna be fish only and plants only. And then it was like, okay, maybe fish food, heaters, and medicine. Like, that's it. And dechlorinator. Like, anything you had to have to, like, in an emergency. And now, the majority is dry goods, which I find crazy that I've, in that many years, it has gone the polar opposite. But only because of YouTube and, working hard and having great people around me have we been able to, like, actually compete against the Amazons, against the big people in the industry and the following. You guys buy our stuff. so that we're actually able to launch the next product and reinvest. So, do I prefer to float or plant water sprite? I prefer it floating. I love the floating form of it. What's Dorcula's favorite cookie? If I had to guess, as the world's busiest husband, she's probably told me, but if I had to guess right now, like what would make her the happiest, if I found and brought her some ginger snaps. I feel like she's extra nostalgic for ginger snaps, but I bet you she would have said a different cookie. But my guess is the ginger snaps would have been more of a rare treat, while she would have said, what would she say her favorite cookie is? I don't know what she would say it is. I know what she makes the most of because I like them, chocolate chip cookies and stuff like that, but I'm trying to think what she would say her favorite cookie is. So I'm interested to see what her favorite cookie she would say is. Got to be fine with ramen in the back? That's right. Not every lunch, but multiple times a week, well, almost every day, either lunch or dinner would be me eating cup of noodle with freeze-dried garlic put into it to try and make it better because I was, not getting a salary, very low on funds. And I was there because the store at the beginning opened at noon, so I'd have time to go buy fish, pick up stuff from the airport, do all of that. And then I could open the store at noon, and we stayed open till 8. And so, yeah, that was basically lunch and dinners every day at the store. And then I had an hour drive each way because my wife had to work like 2 hours away from the store, and the halfway point was an hour. And so I wouldn't get home till 9 p.m. And at the latest, I had to leave by 11 in the morning to get there, absolute latest. So, yeah, maximum of like 12 hours at home. But there was always, anyone that's worked at a fish store knows the time that it says you close, like a restaurant, you don't close then. You get to clean and reset up for the next day. So it was always like, okay, you get home at 9:30. So, let's see here. Has it gotten easier for you after being in business for so long? I think so. I want to say that there might be more stress now. I don't know if that's actually tangible. However, we have access to more money, meaning we've got more products, things sell, things happen. And so that's easier to handle speed bumps along the way, where like when the store flooded because a tank broke loose and I had to buy dehumidifiers, like commercial dehumidifiers off Craigslist and everything. I remember after that there was like less than $2,000 in the bank account, and I had to pay payroll for my one employee still. And I honestly wasn't sure I was going to make it. Like I was like, I think this might put us out because like rent's $1,000. I've got less than $2,000. Product got ruined. This happened, that happened. I had to buy this equipment to not, let the whole building get ruined. And so now when something like that happens, is it stressful? Yes. But it's like, okay, do the things. Like do the things. We'll fix it. It's a setback. We can get through it. But the stress is still there, but it's not the same lingering stress of like, oh, I don't know, like if we don't have a good sales weekend this weekend, like I don't know what I'm going to do. We clawed our way back out of that, which was great. And, so we've had some situations like that when we moved the warehouse. It was crazy stressful and lots of money, all caught up. Tariffs have done that. But I do think it is easier. I don't think I could say it's harder. I think it is easier, but it's not easy still. Your wife should be baking Aquarium Co-op easy cookies for you to sell. Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. All the disclaimers, all the things. One year she made, for the club, we used our mini measure, and she made a ridiculously good like chocolate mousse with green spoons. And for the Greater Seattle Aquarium Society Christmas parties, she had to make like 100 and some of them. That was awesome. A lot of work, but that turned out really well. You did a great stream on the story right around Christmas on the 10th anniversary. It was a great journey through the history of the co-op. Yeah. I definitely go through some nostalgic moments when I stumble upon like the pictures of when we were first like tearing down the store to set up the store and all of that. I'm like, wow, that seems like forever ago. But it instantly tunes me into like, I remember how crazy that was. Like that was a crazy time where, like, I remember when we opened the store, we couldn't buy enough lights. So there was these like $12 lights that I wanted where you could screw in the light bulbs. And we're opening our store. It's opening in like next month or this month or whatever the timeline was at the time. And I go to order the lights because we had 43 tanks, right? The main wall still there to this day, 43 tanks. And I go to order it, and even though it said they had them in stock, turns out their inventory was wrong, and I only got half. So I actually had to open the store with only the tanks having half the lights that I needed. And then I was able to get them like a few weeks later, but I just remember going, oh my gosh, I have this whole grand opening. Well, it was a soft opening, but like people have been asking, and I'm telling them, and then I'm only going to have half the lights. Oh no. So it was, just things like that. I learned a lot about, wholesalers don't have the inventory they think they have quite often. That's not good. That's actually, those experiences are actually what led us to doing our own things and like making our own products. Like the first time, I remember the first thing I ever was like, I got to do this on my own. I can't rely on other people. It's a mono shrimp. Because we'd gone like 4 months without being able to get a mono shrimp. And I was like, there's no way that there can't be a mono shrimp worldwide. Like, I am at the mercy. My business is at the mercy of the people I buy from. And that was the first product ever that I had to like go and source. And it was a mono shrimp. And then after that, I was like, wait, I can get them and they're cheaper? Like, yeah, I got to do more work initially, but I'm saving money. I can depend on myself. And I'm not the whim of someone else. And that was the first thing. And then the first dry good, I think, was the pre-filter sponge. I think that was the first one. I don't know, was that? Maybe Easy Green was first. But that wasn't replacing a product, though. That was making our own product. So I'm not sure. Because I could always buy enough C-Chem. It just was a terrible value. Kind of still is. Like, the fact that it doesn't have nitrogen in it just blows my mind. Of the complete. Not so complete when it doesn't have nitrogen. So... been watching for years. I'm proud of you from the outside looking in. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long... I hope, and maybe AI could summarize this for us, but I want to know how many things, how many ideas, how many intentions have panned out. Because there's things like, I'm going to launch a light. And you say that, like I've been saying, like, I want to do a hang-on back. Like, someday I'm going to do a hang-on back, but I wonder how many things have come to fruition. And because I try to genuinely do what I say I'm going to do, even if it's on like a long timeline. Where did that go? I just saw a comment from my wife. I don't know if she chimed in with the cookies or not. I think that was her telling me about the monster cookies and not. What are the mistakes I made along the way I can laugh about now? Let me think. There's so many mistakes. Every month we're making mistakes. I'm trying to think of the ones you can laugh at that don't hurt too bad. Maybe I'll have a better answer for next month or next week because like I'm trying to think, and I'm struggling. Yeah, it's not coming to the top of my head. It has been like 2 hours though, so I need to wrap this up. I got things I got to get done today because it's a work day. Really hope the lights will make it back again. Me too. But unfortunately, the latest manufacturers kind of just gone dark on us. They're not responding. Or if they are, it's taking like a month in between communications. Like, that's not a good sign for a manufacturer for us. So it's funny. I remember watching old streams and a lot of things you said you probably never do, you're doing now and done well. I could see that. As you learn more, you do more. I also know there's things like I'm never going to do that because I don't think I'll be able to pull that off. And then turns out we could. And then I'm sure there's ample things where it's like, oh, that's a terrible idea. I'm never doing that. And then we do it. And then there's things of like, of course we're going to do that. And then we do it and it's not worked out well at all. So each piece of information changes the outlook, I think. If you watch a live, even from 2019, there's so many products released since then. Yeah, there's I mean, honestly, I don't. Let me see if I can open this thing. It's not gonna look good because I've got stuff over there, but I have to redesign the product wall because I've got products that aren't on the wall at all. From even when we put that up like a year ago, I'm like, but there's none of the new sponge pads. We're missing foods. We're missing this, and I hadn't thought about like, oh, I gotta like we always had to do at the store, redesign like where we're gonna put the new things, but I forgot I gotta do that at home. Can I open that? Is that a thing that'll open and not break my live stream? If it breaks it, so be it. Oh no, it's not because I'm using the wrong camera. So this is I can't pan the camera over there and show you guys the product wall and but yeah, what are the new products that don't have a home? Undergravel filter, the lanyards, the bite-sized foods, all the 2.2 kilogram packages or the 4.8 pounders, all the new sponge pads, the 100 count easy shrimp and snails, all the 3D printed stuff has no home. I don't even think I have the bigger. I've got the original algae scrubbers. So like our algae scrubbers are like, is it 60% bigger? I think it says on the thing. I was noticing them when I was at the warehouse. I was like, oh yeah, they're finally selling. Great. Let's see, water care supplies. Where did I put those? Oh no, yeah, right here. Are they 60% bigger? What are they? Oh, are we not even saying? I don't even think people know that. Okay. Well, I got to look, but I think it's something like our algae scrubbers are now thicker and everything, and it's the same price, but I think it's like 60. Oh, wait. No, here it is. Second graphic. 80% larger. So we made them thicker and wider and all that. So, yeah, same amount. You're getting 80% more of your scrubby pad. So, and I've got the original one still. So I need to like update my little wall, basically. 1 more hour. Yeah. When are we getting a mini tank decoration? My own bobblehead or something? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really struggle with like it would sell, but is that what I want to be selling? Like I'm getting like secondhand. I don't know what it's like. Like I haven't looked at it in a long time, but bulk resupply. They sold to that venture capital company, and then they started putting out like 1 billion plushies a minute and puzzles and all the things, and I was just like, oh, that's exactly what I don't want to be ever. Now clip that, because in 10 years I'm sure we'll be doing that, and then someone will be like, you said you didn't want to do that. You're right, I did say that, and I don't see how it's good yet. So maybe I'm just wrong, and maybe there's a day where it's like, yeah, but you're getting thousands of kids into aquariums with plushies and puzzles and things, right? Maybe that's true. But they had like, where did it go? I don't even know how to get there from here. Do they have a merch section? It was overwhelming. Like, man, you guys really leaned into that once the company bought. Here it is, merch. Yeah, they have it's like they're a merch company now. I don't even know how many things, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least right there, there's 6 different plushies. And yeah, we've got stickers and shirts, but they've got like a lot. So I don't know. It seemed like I don't know. It all came on at once. So it made me feel like this is more of a, hey, we could launch all the things as opposed to, yeah, let's launch this one thing we think we need. So we're working on a few things. We've got some holiday shirts lined up. I've been working on a Brazil. Not I wouldn't say I've been working on it. Our merch person's been working on it. We've been proofing and giving feedback and stuff on like a, what do they call that kind of shirt? It's like what you'd wear while fishing and like you're in Brazil and like the quick dry shirts. Yeah, quick dry shirts. It's got like a Brazil. It's got like a stingray on it. It's got a Corridora on it. It's got, I'm trying to think what else it's got on it, but it's pretty cool. It's trying to make it a little cooler still, and the pricing's not gonna be cheap. It's like a jersey basically, like a soccer jersey, dry fit thingy. I'm thinking we're gonna have to sell them for like $50, but they're pretty cool. I don't know. I probably won't print that many of them because I feel like it's gonna be a pretty niche thing. I kind of just want it for myself and employees, and then we'll sell some, I guess. And hopefully you guys prove me wrong and you just buy a ton and we got to sell a ton because I think they look cool. But it also could be one of those like, ain't nobody want that, you fool. Like, yeah, I kind of knew it. I wanted one though. I also want a Murphy plushie. We tried. We tried like, I don't know, 2018-ish. Have a real manufacturer make them. I don't even know where it is anymore, but it came out real bad. Did not look like it all. I have a handmade one that a fan made me that's actually way cooler. But yeah, we tried real hard. Not tried real hard, but we tried a few different manufacturers and like, sure, that's a stuffed animal, but that really doesn't look like Murphy. Like that's not really. So 100 count shrimp and snail made my snails gorgeous. Well, I'm glad to hear. Yeah, I love that product. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. I think we're making a new 100 count test strip coming down the pipeline for the end of the year. Because I think I can lower the price a bit and sell 100 counts. Because I just think people, if you're cutting the test strips in half, which you should be because it saves you money, I just don't think most people are using like 400 tests before expiration. So if I can lower the price some at 100, so yeah, we're working on that. That's supposed to come out. Got a food that's supposed to come out at some point. What else? Still working on air pumps. They're not ready yet. Oh, got some changes to like under gravel filter system and sponge filter maybe. Not sure if they're gonna make the next boat, but yeah. Need a shirt with sunburnt Corey on it. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, the SBF shirt. I don't know if that shirt we're working on. I don't know if it has an SBF rating. So right now we're in the stages of we've got the design. I asked for can we get shirt samples and pricing and stuff like that, and we'll see if that's a possibility. Not sure. Have I checked out Makeship? They made a really good Andu plushie. I have not. Yeah, hood with the long sleeves. Yeah, so right now it would be a short sleeve. So like I'm wanting to make it employees. Employees don't need long sleeve and a hoodie. But I do recognize when you're actually collecting like in Brazil or outside, you do want long sleeves and a hoodie. So maybe if the short sleeve version goes well, we'll launch the long sleeve and the hoodie thing. I'm so cautious to step outside of our realm and become that like, oh, now you'll just do anything. Like I really try to go like, how does this apply to our aquariums though? Like how is this? Because for a while we were gonna launch like some USB cables and some other things, and there's always like, but you could do like dog collars and leashes and stuff and like make them really good because you have dogs. And yes, but that will dilute the freshwater planted aquariums that we do. And so I really try to, like the hood version with long sleeves, while it would be cool while we're collecting and or filming and stuff, does that translate to our actual customer? And there's definitely people gonna be like, that would be me. I go outside, I enjoy nature daily, I want to do that. And I think that's why we're like dabbling in it. It's like it kind of works, I think. So we'll see. If the short sleeve, because my first shirts I ever printed, I printed more in my size because I was like, no matter what, even if I go out of business, I will wear these shirts. And I still have that mentality of like, you know what? Even if nobody else wants this shirt, I will wear this shirt. And our employees can wear this shirt. And then if you guys show me like, oh, wow, you guys love it, then we can get a little bit crazier with it. So, yeah. Need more weight. Soaker hose is amazingly buoyant. Yeah, so 30 minutes ago I was talking about that I might have to use rocks or something else heavy for sure I got to DIY my pond curtain-y thing. So I'm going to try it. But they do make some commercial versions that are basically soaker hose glued to weighted airline hose. So I'm going to try my own version with zip ties and see what that gets me, and then I'll adjust from there. So the co-op's real priority should be making a life-size Zenzo plushie. Yeah, we should only make like, wasn't Costco or someone selling those teddy bears that were like bigger than a car, where it was like $200 absurdly big and people bought them as a gimmick? Yeah. All right. I gotta feed my fish. I got stuff I gotta do. Thanks for hanging out. Sunday school, another one in the books. I'm really gonna not try to miss anymore. Well, not anymore, but like next week we should be here. And I just had a couple crazy weeks, and I knew I was like, I'm back, and then I totally ghosted, and I realized the irony of that, and I hope to not do that anymore. And I'm hoping to make this the weekly Sunday thing like we did for so many years. I'm hoping to bring that tradition back. So if you're doing maintenance or you're working or you're listening on while we're mowing or whatever, we're going to be doing this every Sunday. We also do the Deep in the Mulm every week, that podcast, at least an hour. We didn't do it on Tuesday because we were loading a container, so we did it Thursday. Thanks to everybody who let me know that you guys missed us and worried about us, and we still got our episode out, so we're still, what is that, 74 weeks in a row? That number blows my mind because that means we've gone over a year without missing one, and we're definitely keeping that streak alive. Last week was a perfect week to be like, just skip it. But because we don't want to break the streak, it's totally working, and yeah, we'll see how many we can go in a row without missing one. So if you're jonesing for more of this format with no ads, that would be the Deep in the Mulm podcast that we do every week. You also save 5% on the website. You get coins, you get other things. We have monthly speakers we hire to speak for the membership as well. And yeah, generally it just supports what we do. So thanks for hanging out. And I'll try to see if I can get my camera dialed in for next week. We'll see if I got that time. And make some tacos, enjoy Nature Daily, and give someone a comment. Comment? Compliment. Don't just comment on them, compliment them. All right. We'll see you later. Be well.